Alright, hello everyone. This is Matt. Today I'm going to be showing you this SimpleBox2D module I've been working on and how easy it is. It's developed for Monkey here. So first I'm just going to make a quick folder and I'll start a new project here. Let's close all this down. I'll start brand new. First I'm going to open up one of my template files just so I don't have to code up a basic outline of a monkey program. So I'm opening up my bare bones folder. I'm going to go save it here. I shouldn't have named that box2D, but that's okay. SimpleBox2D example. Okay, so here's our new folder, SimpleBox2D example. Basically, this is just the basic outline of a regular monkey program. Strict mode is enabled. You just import the Mojo module, which is the graphics module for monkey that it comes with. Just create the new game class. The game class down here is just onCreate, sets the update rate, does nothing in update, and on render it just clears the screen, returns nothing. So I'll run this real quick. You can basically see it's just a blank screen here. So this program essentially does nothing right now. So let's go ahead and add my SimpleBox2D module. So you just come up here and you do import SimpleBox2D. Alright, I actually put it in my own folder called MJC. So mjc.simplebox2d. That's all you have to do. That should run. Nothing's happening. But first thing you want to do is after you import SimpleBox2D is just jump up here. First we need to create a field. So I'll make some fields. We'll say field world, and this is a box2D world type. And so now that we've created that field, we can go world equals new box2D underscore world. And just like that, our world should be created. Again, you won't see anything because world's created. It's not doing anything yet. We also have to jump down here and update the world. I'll say update physics world. Spelled that wrong. That's fine. I don't really need spelling to be correct in a comment. So you just go world.update. And then down here, we'll just we'll say render physics world, and this is just world.render. I always like to add comments. Create physics world. Okay, so now that's all you have to do. Import the SimpleBox2D module, create the physics world. In the update method, make sure it's updating, and in the render method, make sure it's rendering. Now again, you won't see anything, but now every frame it's updating and rendering. Alright, so let's go ahead and add some stuff to our physics world. We'll go ahead and say on click add box, or we'll say spawn box. Spawn box. And so spawning a box is really easy here. You just do create box, and we'll say at touch X, touch Y, and then it's just width and height. So we'll say 10 by 10. Now when we click, it should spawn a box in our physics world. Just like that. Oops. So right now, since we don't have any images and we haven't assigned an image to anything, we would like to set the debug mode on. Right here there's some optional parameters you can do. You can just set these to true and true. This just says debug mode's on, and this one says debug to draw debug mode. And so now we should actually see stuff here. Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's actually spawning a box, not where we click, just where the mouse is at. So I forgot to make it so that it's actually on click, so go if mouse hit 0, do that, come down here and go end if. Now when we click, it'll create a box. So there we go. That was just a programming mistake there. So as you can see, when we click, our boxes are spawned. That's super easy. If you click off the screen, that's just a monkey thing. It pauses the game, but you can change that if you want to. But anyway, we're creating the box. Let's go ahead and create a ground. So here on create, we can say create ground. I believe the monkey HTML target default screen size, I think it's 640 by 480 maybe. So we can do the exact same thing we just did. We can say rule.create box because we're going to be creating a box for the ground. We'll create it a little bit off the screen, so we'll say 5 pixels off the screen, and we'll say the height, we'll get it pretty close to the bottom. I think it's 480, so we'll have it start at 470. And then the width and height, since it's 640 across, let's go ahead and make it 650, since that'll give us 5 on each end. And then we'll just make the height 5. Alright, and so actually an additional parameter you can do here, as you can see, it's just x, y, width, height, x, y, width, height. There's an additional parameter you can do at the end. It's for static. It determines if the body is static or dynamic. By default it's on dynamic, so by default it's on false. But if we want to keep it a static body so that it doesn't move, I don't know why I typed static, we just put true. So now it's a static box, and you'll be able to see that here. It's green, it's static, it doesn't move, so it doesn't fall. And there you go. Now we have a ground just like that. Super simple to add. Just a couple lines of code. We just created the physics rule to create a ground, do update, render, and then when we click, just spawn a box. Just like that. Piece of cake. So like I was saying up here, there's some additional parameters. You can do all kinds of neat stuff with this. So the next one was if the body was static or not. And after that one, you can do the restitution, which is kind of like the bounciness. We'll just leave that default. Then is density, we'll leave that at the default. And then is friction. And so we'll go ahead and turn friction all the way to 0 and see what happens here for the ground. So it doesn't look like there's any difference, but you'll see now it slides very easily. It's kind of like ice or something. So these boxes still have friction, but the ground no longer has friction. So we'll just go ahead. I'll set the restitution to 0. The restitution for the ground set to 0, then the ground doesn't affect any of the bounciness. I don't know, I kind of like it. But if we come down here, you can also see that we can set, we want to leave that as dynamic, so we'll leave it at false as the default value. If you want to, you can implicitly put that in there. You don't have to. I believe the default value for bodies is 0.3 for restitution, but you can change it to whatever value you want to. If you change it to say 1, it will now bounce as high as where you dropped it from. So you can see right where I clicked, it bounces all the way back up to there, and it will continue to bounce all the way back up to wherever you clicked, or to wherever the height that it was dropped from, and it will continuously do that unless it gets messed up here by some other force. And if you wanted to say have it bounce really high and to keep bouncing but slowly get lower, you can say set it to 0.9. Now you can see where I clicked right there, it slowly starts bouncing lower and lower and lower. The default value, like I said, is right around 0.3, where it'll fall, give it a little bounce, and then stop. So that's kind of fun to play with. If you're, you can set all that stuff however you want to. Like I said, there's restitution right here, 0.3. I believe density is just 1.0, and then I think friction is also at 0.3, but I'm not entirely sure. There's also an additional parameter at the end for sleeping. Sleeping is always set to true. That just means that when the body stops moving, that's gonna still in there. Just when the body stops moving for a certain amount of time, it'll turn gray there. That means it's asleep. When it's lit up, that means it's awake, so it's having to simulate that. When it's asleep, it takes much less resources, it performs better. If something touches it, it wakes back up. You can set it to always be awake if you want to. Set that to false, and then it should always stay awake. And it'll never go to sleep, which is important for some things. In some cases, in a game I was working on, I had to leave some of the objects awake to get better simulations. Alright, so that's basically boxes. If you just want to keep all the default settings, it's really simple. X, Y, width, height. Let's go ahead and do on click spawn a circle. And it's very similar to the box. There's only a little bit of a difference here. You just do it's the same similar command, rule dot create circle, and then we'll do touch X, touch Y, and then instead of width and height, it's radius. So that's all you enter is radius right there. And I'll also note that all these are floats, so you can change these to like 10.3 if you wanted to, 10.28, 15.1, whatever you want to do. But that should be it. There you go, you've got your circle. The additional parameters are exactly the same. So instead of width and height, you just have radius, and then it's immediately static or not. And then restitution, which you can change that to 1 if you wanted to, and watch, you can have it bounce just like a bouncy ball or something. Spawn these all over the place. The parameters are exactly the same: restitution, density, and friction, and then sleep. So yeah, those are the two simple commands, just boxes and circles. Create them however size you want. You can change the parameters. There's all kinds of ways to change that. I've got commands in here to set restitution, so if you wanted to, you could do local E entity equals whatever, and then you could do E dot set restitution and set it to whatever you want to, like 1.0 or 10. So if you wanted to do that, you could change things on the fly. You got to keep track of the variables, of course, just like this. If you wanted to keep track of everything here, you could go filled elist. We'll say elist for entity list, and do entity, and then jump down here. We'll create the entity list right here. Say elist equals new list entity. Whoops. Create entity list. Okay. And now you can do elist dot add last, just like that, and elist dot add last, just like that. And then now we're keeping track of everything, so if we wanted to do stuff to individual objects, we could. You could search through the list, pick one out, change locations or set positions, change any of the variables, any of that stuff. For example, we could come down here and do if key hit, thing I cannot type today, key underscore space. We could do for local e entity equals each in e list. Next, and you could do e dot apply impulse. So these are for impulse, it's a vec2 variable, so it's v2 vec2. This is the force that you're applying. So your x force, we'll just leave that at 0. Say we want to make it go up, we could do 0.5 and new v2 vec2, and this is the point that you're applying it at. We just want to apply it right at the center of the entity, so we can just do e dot get position dot x and e dot get position dot y. I think we got an extra one on there. So now I've got all these. When I press space, it applies 0.5 impulse up. So of course, applying the impulse when it gets down here, it's not going to go up as much as that one because it's got more downward force on it there. But I mean, you've almost got like a Flappy Bird thing going on here now. Just whenever you press space, it goes up and down. So it's kind of neat. Do that. It works for the sphere here too. The sphere has more mass, so it doesn't go up at the same rate as that does. If you wanted to, you could change the density up here for the boxes. So that's static substitution. We could do random 0.5 to say 1.5. And now each box I have has a variable density. You'll notice they all go up at different rates. Even though the same impulse is being applied, they have different densities, so it affects them differently. Kind of neat. So yeah, that's basically, I've got all kinds of commands over here. Apply impulse, you can set the different variables, restitution, density, and friction. If you wanted to, you could come down here and you could do if key hit, we'll say key 1. We could do rule.set gravity. We'll just say, we'll keep the x there. We'll say for the y, we'll set it at a random value of 1.0 to 10.0. The default value for gravity is 0 for the x, which is left to right, and the default value is 10, so downward motion of 10 for the y value. So this will just set the y value to a random value between 1 and 10. When we press 1, and you can see maybe the random value isn't the best thing. We'll just go ahead and say 1. It's hard to tell what exactly is happening. It could set it to like 9.8. So right now gravity is normal. When I press 1, gravity changes to 1. So we can apply some force. It's kind of neat. So yeah. Let's see. Next I'll show you adding an image. So I already downloaded an image online. It's from OpenGameArt. It's free to use. It's just a box here. We'll add it to our cube. So if I come here, go to new folder. What did I name this? SimpleBox2D SimpleBox2D example dot data. Let's throw the box in there. Down here in the fields, we'll go field image. Oops, box. We'll make it an image type. Down here, do load images. Image box equals load image. Oops. Box dot ping, I think it was. And then we'll do image dot mid handle. That'll just make it so that I forgot to keep that to default. This will just make it so that the image is right in the middle of the box. Just makes it set up correctly, a little easier. Alright, so now let's come down here and we'll do for box, we'll say E entity equals, we'll create this box here, world, get rid of this, we'll have that at the end to the list. Now you just do e.set image. What is it called? Image box. There we go. And now it should set that image. Alright, so you'll notice the image is bigger than the box right now. That's because we don't have the box and the image is the same size. But as you've seen, the box is assigned to the image there. It just looks weird. So a way we can do that, because right now this is 1010, I believe the box image 32, 32. Okay, let's try that. Should be the same size now. Works correctly. You'll see the box is kind of green. It doesn't look like the same box as what we had over here. That's just because debug mode's on. So if we wanted to, we'll copy this real quick. We'll say when we press 2, we'll do set world set debug mode. This allows you to turn debug mode on or off. We'll say we'll turn it off, and we'll turn the visible drawing off. So now we've got our debug mode, and if I press 2, it turns debug mode off, so you can't see the ground anymore, but our boxes are there, they look normal. This is how a normal game would look. Yeah, so you really only want debug mode on when you're trying to figure out what's wrong, to make sure your images line up with your boxes correctly there, and all of that stuff. So it's helpful for when you're making a game, making sure your collisions are correct. But in the actual game, you would turn debug mode off. It'll make the game run faster. You don't have all this drawing going on in the background, and it makes everything look normal. So yeah, I was going to show you how to do stuff over here as well. The multi-polygon shapes, but basically you can create multi-polygon shapes as well, add images to them pretty easily as well. So you just come down here like I have. If you do mouse hit, just create car. I've got a create car function. This car is a little bit more complex, as you can see. I was going to show you there, but basically what you do is you have to create a list. You create where you want the polygons to go. So if you're just creating one polygon, you just need this, and it's just x, y, x, y, x, y, x, y. You add it to a list down here, and then at the bottom you just say world.create multi-polygon at x, y, and then the list. So this car is made up of a lot of different multi-polygon fixtures. So looks like it has 10 polygonal shapes there. So yeah, so there's a lot of different polygons. There's like one there, 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 one there. So there's a lot of different shapes in here. So it's a little bit more complex, but if you're just going to make, say, one polygonal shape, say like this middle part here, you just need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different vectors, vertices, I mean, and probably right here is probably that middle part, or maybe right here, one of these. And so you just go xy, 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 add it to a list, and then create the polygonal shape right there. So yeah, instead of typing that out by hand real quick, I just showed you a different example from earlier. But yeah, so that's the basics of my SimpleBox2D module. Again, it's pretty simple. Just import SimpleBox2D, just add a ruled field, create the ruled, come down here, make sure you're updating and rendering the ruled, and then like to create a box, you just do ruled.createBox xy with height, circle, do that. To add an image to it, you just set the image, and then you can do all kinds of neat stuff with the different commands I've added. It's all pretty basic. You can't create ropes or water or things like that, but overall it's a pretty quick way to get playing with physics, to change settings around, to mess with it, to see what works, what doesn't work. Very quick at prototyping and even creating simple games. So hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about it.